This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Baruch haba and welcome everyone to a special presentation brought to you by Chazaq. This Shiur is being hosted by our good friends at Chazaq. I want to thank Rav Ilan Meirav, Rav Yaniv Meirav, Rabbi Abov for hosting tonight's event. I have a very long-standing and special relationship with Chazaq, and whatever you could do to support their holy efforts. Chazaq is so involved in all communal activities, especially in the Queens area, and they specialize in enlisting public school students in yeshivos, which is mamish hatzalas nefashos. Many of them have turned to great contributors to Klal Yisrael, whatever you could do to support their efforts. Tavei aleichem bracha. Tonight's shiur is sponsored by Chickens for Shabbos. What an amazing opportunity, what an amazing organization that they're dedicated to feeding those Yidden who need it the most. Agunois, Grushais. They're dedicated to supporting the foundation of Klal Yisrael, the Malamdim, the teachers, the Rabbeim, the Rabbanim. So here's how you support Chickens for Shabbos. Go to the Yad Eliezer site, click on the icons, Malamdim, Agunois, Agrushais, and whatever you could do to support Chickens for Shabbos, the Rebbe Shem should be mashpia on your family. Only shefa, bracha, v'hatzlacha. Tonight, we would like to discuss one of the most well-known Gemaras in all of Shas regarding the Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah. That is the Gemara in Daf Tezayin Amud Beis, Amar Rav Krispedoi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Shloisha Sfarim Niftachen. Rosh Hashanah, 3 books are opened on Rosh Hashanah. One book, Echad Shel Risham, one of the wicked. Gemurin, the completely wicked. V'echad Shel Tzadikim Gemurim, one of the completely righteous. V'echad Shel Beinonim, and one from the in-betweens. And the Gemara tells us, Tzadikim Gemurin Nechtavim V'nechtamim La'alta L'chaim. The completely righteous are written and sealed immediately for life. Rishaim Gemurin, the completely wicked, Nechtavin v'nechtamim la'alter lamisa, are written and sealed completely for death. Beinoniyim, the average, the in-between, Tluyin v'oimdim, they're suspended and standing from Rosh Hashanah till Yom Kippur. If they're zoicha, they're written for life. If they're not zoicha, they chas v'sham are written for misa. Now, this is the most well-known Gemara. The Gemara tells us about the 3 books that are open on Rosh Hashanah. So we conjure up in our mind that there are 3 books. There's a big book, the book of the righteous. There's another big book, the book of the wicked. And then there's the book of the in-betweens, the Beinoniyim. That's how we imagine. I remember when I was in 5th grade, the Rebbe had a Sefer HaZachronos, the book of remembrances. And he would be mechabed, one of the boys in the class, to inscribe the book of remembrance. So the Rebbe would say, okay, write down Yankel did this good thing. Write down Beryl talked that or acted up. And I did have that privilege to serve upon occasion as the scribe of the Sefer HaZachronos, but actually it came along with some perks. Namely, most kids in the class wanted the scribe of the Sefer HaZachronos to be on their good side and to curry favor with that scribe, because what actually transpired in the classroom and the way it was recorded in this Sefer HaZachronos were not always exactly the same. But be it as it may, we have this picture in heaven. There are 3 books: the book of the righteous, the good people, the bad people, and the in-between people. And this is a Gemara we're all familiar with. Now, I will tell you, this book is, this presentation tonight is being sponsored in honor of the Sefer, the Mystery and the Majesty, which is a humble work that we put out on the Yom Noram, on Elul, on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot. And it's already in our 3rd year. If anybody wants to order it, you could go to the Art Scroll website and put in the promo code TMATM, Rashi Tevos, the Mystery and the Majesty. An acrostic, the Mystery and the Majesty, TMATM. And you could get 10% off and free shipping. And in that book, we comment, and we have an entire essay on this Gemara about the 3 books that are open on Rosh Hashanah. However, this presentation this evening does not appear in the Mystery and the Majesty. Be'ezus Hashem, one day Hashem should give us Siyat Deshmaya to write it up in other formats. But the Gemara continues, because the Gemara wants to know, where is there an indication, where is there a source in the Psukim for these three books? And the Gemara says, the Pasuk says, Yimachu misefer chayim. It will be erased from the book of the living, V'yim tzadikim al yikasevu, and with the righteous will not be written. Says the Gemara, Yimachu, it will be erased, misefer. Zasifran shal rasham. This is the book of the wicked. Chayim, life, Zasifran shal tzadikim, that's the book of the righteous. V'im tzadikim al yikasevu, and with the righteous it will not be written, Zasifran shel Beinoniyim. That's the book of the mediocre people. Very interesting. Where does it say the book of the wicked? They will be erased from the book of life. Where does it say with the book of the righteous? Zechayim. Chayim. In other words, the pasuk says, Yimachu misefer, that's the book of the wicked. Chayim, living, that's the book of the righteous. V'im tzadikim al yikasevu, that's the book of the Beinonim. This Gemara is very difficult, because it's saying, what's the book of the wicked? They'll be erased. Being erased is not a book. Being erased is out of the book. Well, that's not a book of the wicked. How can you say the book of the wicked is, they'll be erased from the book of the living, and the book of the tzaddikim is alive, and they won't be written with the righteous? That's the Beinonim. How is erasing the book of the wicked? And then the Gemara cites another pasuk when Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Ribbon Sham, you have to save Klal Yisrael. V'im ayin mecheni na misifracha asher kasafta. Erase me. That's the book of the wicked. Your book, that's the book of the righteous. That you wrote, that's the book of the in between." How, in any way, is this a reference to the book of the wicked? Why is the book of the wicked continuously being referred to as that which is erased? Another interesting question, and this presentation tonight comes from a wondrous sefer, an amazing sefer, Shev Dinachemta of Hagoin Rabbi Yosef Engel. Rabbi Yosef Engel is one of the all-time great Gaonim and Tzaddikim, but he excelled in mastering all elements of Torah and weaving together such a magnificent tapestry. And I have a very dear friend in Monsey, Reb Hersh Friedman, who has an entire machon that is dedicated to putting out the Sfarim of Rabbi Yosef Engel, and they put out a magnificent edition of Rabbi Yosef Engel on the Shev Dinachemta. They also put out the Oitzrois Yosef, and they're working now on putting out the Chidushim of Rabbi Yosef Engel on Shemitah. And if anybody wants to participate in their machon, you could contact us, because they have a tremendous operation going, where they have many Talmidei Chachamim working day and night, sifting through every single word of the manuscripts of Rabbi Yosef Engel, and it's a very worthy operation. Now, Reb Hersh Friedman sent me the Shev Dinachemta, and it's such a beautiful work. This is an essay that I was able to glean from it, and Rabbi Yosef Engel here asks another very important question. Namely, in the Gemara, in Masechta Tainis and Daf Yud Aleph, the Gemara says, well, la'achar me'ah ve'esrim shana, a person might say, well, who's going to testify against me? Who knows if I did a mitzvah, if I did averos? So the Gemara says that either the stones of one's house will testify against them, or the beams of one's house will testify against them, or the two angels that accompany a person will testify against him. And then the Gemara says, Nishmasai shalada meyadbai, the soul of a person will testify against them. How will a person's soul testify against them? I mean, Hashem's going to summon the soul to testify against itself? Is the soul really going to offer official testimony that the person violated Averos, what exactly does the Gemara mean that a person's soul will testify against them? Another interesting question that Rabbi Yosef Engel raises is there's a medrash in Bamidbar Rabbah, Parsha Ches Ois Beis. The medrash talks about 4 groups of Jews: one tzaddikim, one of Gerei Tzedek, one of Balei Tshuva, and one of Yirei Shamayim. And the medrash says the group of Balei Tshuva is referenced in the pasuk V'zeh Yichtov Yadai Lashem. This one will write his hand to God. Why are Balei Tshuva called those who write their hand to God? Another interesting question to think about. A Gemara in Moed Katan Daf Tezvav Amud Aleph. The Gemara says that if somebody is present at the time of the Yetzias Neshama of a Jew, they need to tear Kriya twice. They have to rise Kriya. The Gemara says that the one has to rise Kriya, says the Gemara, according to the Girsa of the Rashi on the Rif, Shenir Chayiv L'Kroya Alav, because it's as if they saw a Sefer Torah that is torn. And if a Sefer Torah is torn, they have to write rise Kriya. If somebody sees a Sefer Torah that is burnt, they have to tear Kriya. Likewise, if somebody sees Yetzias Neshama, it is likened to the burning of a Sefer Torah. So Rashi on the Rif says, why is a person's patira like the burning of a Sefer Torah? Because the person could have learned much, much more, and now their life is cut short, so therefore a person should rise Kriya upon seeing the Yetzias Neshama of someone. However, Rabbi Yosef Engel offers a different approach, a novel approach, an electrifying approach, which he says in the Sheva de Nechemta and Piska Samach Vav, in the new edition, he says, analyze this subject very well, analyze this Chiddush very well. Ki dvareinu ela, these words, Hema hakdama chadasha, is a new precedent, a new introduction, unechoina bedrush. This is, in other words, a whole new world of drush. Now, very interesting. I believe that this following concept will answer up a number of other questions, and let's start with one of them. The Gemara tells us at the end of Masechta Makos, Kama Tibshai Hayinchi, how foolish people are. The Kama Mikame Sifra Torah, V'loi Kame Mikame Gaver Rabba. They stand up for a Torah scroll, and they don't stand up for a Torah scholar. And the Gemara says that's so backward, it's so incongruous. Why would they stand up for a Torah scroll and not stand up for a Torah scholar? And I believe that Rabbi Yosef Engel's approach will help us understand this on a deeper level. Says Rabbi Yosef Engel, quoting a pasuk in Tehillim, Parak Mem. Pasuk Ches and pasuk Tes. Oz Amarti, then I said, Hine Basi, behold I've come, b'Megillah Sefer, in a scroll, Kosovoloi, that is written upon me. Says Rabbi Yosef Engel, there aren't 3 books in heaven. There's no book of the righteous. There's no book of the wicked. There's no average book. There aren't 3 books in heaven. All there is a person's soul. And you know what it says on a person's soul? Kol HaTorah Kula. Bereshis bara Elokim eis hashamayim v'eis haaretz v'haaretz ha'yisosayu v'avayu v'choyshech al pnei sahaim v'ruach Elokim rachefes al pnei hamayim v'yomer Elokim yihiyar loy signov loy sirtzach loy sinaf. It says the whole Torah on a person's soul. And wait a second. That means that if I were able to read my soul, I would be a goyin olam. I would know Kol HaTorah Kula. Somebody would ask me a question, Masechta Krisos, I could just read my neshama. And in fact, that is correct. And that is why in utero, the malach comes and teaches the person the whole Torah. That means the malach allows a person to access the Sefer Torah that is his neshama. But the Gemara says that when a person is born, a malach comes and makes a person forget the Torah. It's interesting, Rabbi Yosef Engel asks, which malach comes and makes a person forget the Torah? It doesn't say which malach it is. Furthermore, Rabbi Yosef Engel says, let's look in the Gemara in Sanhedrin, Sadi Aleph Amud Beis. The Gemara there says that Antoninus said to Rabbi, when does the Yetzer Hara rule over a person? From the time of creation or the time he comes out into the world? And Rabbi said from the time of creation. Says Antoninus, no, from the time a person comes out into the world. Because if it was from the time a person was created, he would just kick and come out of his mother. And says the Gemara, Rabbi conceded to Antoninus that in fact, the Yetzer Hara does not come until a person is born. Shenemar la Pesach chatos roivetz. Sin crouches at the door. Wait a second, that's the very same pasuk that says a malach comes and makes a person forget Kol HaTorah Kula. Ooh, says Rabbi Yosef Engel, that means if you put the two Gemaras together, Nido Lamed Amud Beis with Sanhedrin Tzadi Aleph Amud Beis, the malach that comes and makes us forget the Torah must be the Yetzer Hara that comes into us, La Pesach Chatos Roivetz, when a person is born. Says Rabbi Yosef Engel, the reason why we knew Kol HaTorah Kula before we were born is because it was inscribed on our neshamas. It was seared onto our soul, and all we had to do is look at our soul. And we could read Me'imasai Kar Neshama Ba'arvin. We could read Tosefta, Sifra, Sifri, Mechilta, B'chal HaTorah Kula. But when a person is born, the Yetzer Hara comes and creates like a coating, a cloud on top of our soul. He coats it with gashmias, with physicality, with corporeality, and now where it is such a thick covering, it's like trying to do Kiddush Levana on a cloudy night. You could barely see the moon. You can't even see the words anymore. So it's the Yetzer Hara that comes to a person when we're born that makes us forget Kol HaTorah Kula. That's the Yetzer Hara. Now, unbelievably, Marav Rabbi say, it's quite amazing. But if a person allows his neshama to remain pristine, then neshama shines brightly, and the soul is shining. And in that case, if the soul is shining, then a person would in fact know Kol HaTorah Kula, and he would be able to read all the words of the Torah. However, says Rabbi Yosef Engel, a wondrous chiddush, that if a person violates words of the Torah, let's say a person is not careful about stealing, then the words loy signoi begin to fade and wane and disappear, and they're completely erased from the book. And if a person is not careful in other mitzvahs, then other words begin to fade and erase, until ultimately the majority of the Sefer Torah is no longer there. It's eroded, it's corroded, it's wiped away, it's erased. The tzaddikim, on the other hand, they're roiv mitzvahs. They keep the majority of the Torah. So their Sefer Torah is kosher. It's rubai kekulai. Almost all the letters are there. Every letter is there. Maybe some of the tagim, they're a little bit faded, but ultimately you could bring in the child and he could read out the letter, he can make out the letter, and the majority of the Sefer Torah of a tzaddik is in a pristine form. The Rosh, on the other hand, his Sefer Torah is erased. And then you have a Beinani. What is the status of the Sefer Torah of the Beinani? His soul. There is no Sefer Torah. There are no Sfarim. We're talking about the Jewish soul. The Jewish soul of the Tzaddik is on a very high madrega. The Jewish soul of the Tzaddik is a Sefer Torah that's nearly perfect. The Sefer Torah of the Rasha is a puzzle Sefer Torah. Sefer Torah that's eroded, corroded, wiped away, erased. And the Beinani, he's like in between. It depends which kid you call up to recognize the Yosef. There aren't 3 books. A book of the Tzaddik. There's no book that it says a Tzaddik's name. Okay, it says over here, Yankel Pfefferkorn. It says Beryl Friedman? No, there's no book of the righteous. There's no book of the wicked. There's no book of the in-between. All there is the Jewish soul. But the soul of the righteous is a Sefer Torah. It's the Torah that was written when Hashem created the person. It's inscribed on your soul. And if a person remains pristine, the majority of the words and the letters remain whole. A Rasha, he has successfully caused the letters of his Sefer Torah to be erased, faded. And that is why the Gemara in Masechta Rosh Hashanah Daf Tezayin Mabez wants to know, where does it say anything about the book of the wicked? The book of the wicked, Yimachu mi Sefer, they're erased from the book. What kind of book is being erased from a book? The answer is there is no book of the wicked. There's just the soul of a person, which is a Sefer Torah. And that Sefer Torah of the wicked is erased. It's in bad shape. And then there's the book of the righteous. There's no separate book of the righteous. It's the book of the righteous. Is his Sefer Torah is in its pristine form. And then there's the book of the Beinoni. The book of the Beinoni. What shape is it in? It's kosher, b'di'eved, on some days, on a good day. Likewise, Reb Nachman Bar Yitzchak says, what's the source of the book of the wicked? Mechenina, wipe me out, erase me. Yes, erase me. That's the book of the wicked. The wicked Sefer Torah is erased. The majority of the letters are not in good shape. And then you have the book. That's the pristine Sefer Torah. That's the book of the righteous. Asher Kasafta that you wrote, that's the book of the Beinonim. We said the question of Rabbi Yosef Engel. What does the Gemara Masechta Tainis mean that la'asud lavai, a person's soul will testify against them? How will a person's soul testify against them? The answer is Hashem will take out the soul. And the soul is a Sefer Torah. And if the Sefer Torah is intact and it's in pristine form and all the letters are readable and legible, then you know that in fact the person was a tzaddik. But if the majority of the letters are wiped away, then you also know the person was a rasha. He didn't observe the Torah. And if the Sefer Torah is in limbo, then you know he's a Beinoni. The person's soul will testify because a person is a Sefer Torah. And we can look at that Sefer Torah and we can know exactly where a person is holding and what they're all about and what madriga they're on. In that case, Rabbi say, what would we liken the process of teshuvah to? Well, sinning would then be considered erasing. It's interesting. Rabbi Yosef Engel brings the Chakira of the Pri Megadim in the Sefer Matan Scharan Shel Mitzvahs. And in Chakira Ches, the Pri Megadim is troubled. We know says the Pri Megadim, is it worse to do a mitzvah to violate an Avera on Shabbos, or is it just as bad to violate it during the week? Is there anything more severe about violating an Avera on Shabbos? Says Rabbi Yosef Engel, according to the principle that we are expounding upon, certainly it is worse to do an Avera on Shabbos. Because when a person does an Avera on Shabbos, aside from the Avera itself, he's also violating Mechika, erasing a Sefer Torah. So surely it's worse to violate an Avera on Shabbos. Because not just violating Shabbos, it's also Mechikas, Sefer on Shabbos, erasing on Shabbos. Although you could ask on that, how could you do tshuva on Shabbos? L'cha'ira, teshuva is like writing. And that brings us to the following chiddush that Rabbi Yosef Engel says, that why are Balei Tshuva alluded to in the pasuk V'zeh yichtov yadai l'Hashem? This one will write his hand to Hashem. Why is writing a reference to tshuva? Because with tshuva, when a person did an avera, he caused those words of the Sefer Torah to be erased. And when a person does tshuva, he is rewriting the words of the Sefer Torah. Hence, V'zeh yichtov yadai l'Hashem is a reference to the mitzvah of teshuvah. I believe this gives us a deeper insight into the Gemara in the end of Masechta Makkos, where the Gemara says how foolish people are. The The kami mikame safra Torah, v'lai kami kame gaver rabba. They stand up for a Sefer Torah, but they don't stand up for a great rabbi. Now, what's the argument of the Gemara? Why is this so incongruous? Because what we're learning is a great rabbi is a Sefer Torah. The Rebbeinu Shalom wrote the whole Torah on his neshama, and this person remained loyal and true to what was written on his neshama, what it said on his Sefer Torah. So the person is literally a living Sefer Torah. So how foolish it is that people stand up for an actual Sefer Torah, but they don't stand up for a Torah scholar. The Torah scholar himself is an actual Sefer Torah. Perhaps we could add another idea. The Gemara says in Masechta Megillah, Daf Yud Ches Amud Beis, the Gemara says, Rabba Bar Bar Chana said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, it is usher to write one word of the Megillah, not from a written text. So the Gemara asks, but Rav Meir did it. Says the Gemara, Rav Meir is different. Because about Rav Meir, we apply the pasuk, V'afapecha yiyashru negdecha. His eyelids looked right in front of him. These are the words of Torah, which are miyusharin hein eitzel Rav Meir, which are just and straight by Rav Meir. What does that mean? That even though ordinarily one cannot write a Sefer Torah, not from a written text, Rav Meir was able to write a Sefer Torah, not from a written text. The answer is, based on what we're saying, that Rav Meir, when we say that Rav Meir had his own Sefer Torah, Chazal say very often, on Rav Meir's Sefer Torah was written the following. It was written Kas Naisar with an Aleph. It said Ubendan Chushim. It said Masa Duma, not Masa Roimi. There are many discrepancies in Rav Meir's Sefer Torah, and the Mefarshim ask, well, in that case, Rav Meir's Sefer Torah was Pasal. It could be what Chazal mean on Rav Meir's Sefer Torah doesn't mean the Sefer Torah, the scroll of Rav Meir. It meant what was written on Rav Meir's neshama. That's what the Chazal referred to when it says, "But Torah Seishar Rav Meir Kasov." Torah Seishar Rav Meir refers to Rav Meir's soul. That was the Sefer Torah of Rav Meir. And in that case, you could ask, nobody else is allowed to write a Sefer Torah from the Sefer Torah on their soul. Why was Rav Meir allowed to do that? Why was Rav Meir different? Why was Rav Meir zoicha to have this special halacha? Rav Meir was different because not only was Rav Meir's Sefer Torah pristine in the same way that the Rebbeinu Shalom created and made Rav Meir originally, but Rav Meir's neshama had no coating. He was kas naisar. There was no physicality that clouded what was written on the soul of Rav Meir. Rav Meir was completely translucent. Rav Meir's body was not a mechitza, was not a hafsaka, was not an interruption at all between his seichel and his neshama. And therefore, Rav Meir was permitted to write a Sefer Torah from Rav Meir. Because on the Neshama Rav Meir it said, Kol HaTorah Kula, and ordinarily who could access what it says on their Neshama, who could even see it? But Rav Meir was on such a high madrega. He was on the madrega of Adam HaRishon Koydem HaChet, and therefore, on the Neshama of Rav Meir was written the whole Torah, and he was able to transcribe a Sefer Torah from his Neshama itself. Now, it comes out rather amazing. It comes out rather amazing that the parsha that we read often on either the Shabbos right before Rosh Hashanah or on Shabbos Hagadol is Parshas Vayelech, where we're given the mitzvah, V'ata kisvu lachem es hashir hazois. The mitzvah of Ksiva Sefer Torah. What's the mitzvah of Ksiva Sefer Torah doing in Vayelech? Nitzavim is the mitzvah of tshuva. What do tshuva and Ksiva Sefer Torah have to do with each other? The answer is they're exact parallels. Because what is tshuva? After the neshama has been erased, a person violating the Torah, tshuva is rewriting the Sefer Torah. And that is why Shabbos Shuvah, or right before Rosh Hashanah, we have the mitzvah of Ksivas Sefer Torah, which is a mitzvah which is analogous to the process of tshuva. So this is really a remarkable and marvelous understanding of the three books. There aren't three books. There aren't one book. All there is the Jewish neshama. And the Jewish neshama is written on it, Kol HaTorah Kula. And if we leave it that way, the letters of our Torah illuminate the world. But if Chas v'Shalom, we've become Beinonim, and those letters began to fade, or even worse, if those letters are erased, fear not. V'yata kisvu lachem es hashira azois, the mitzvah of Ksiva Sefer Torah, which is the mitzvah of tshuva. So may HaKadosh Baruch Hu allow all of our souls to shine bright. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu allow the neshamas of all of Klal Yisrael to shine bright. I want to thank Chazaq for hosting tonight's event, because they are dedicated to make sure that the souls of every Jewish child remain the way Hashem wrote them, trying to ensure that every Jewish child has a Jewish education. And whatever you can do to support Chazaq, Tavei Aleichem Bracha. And I thank Chickens for Shabbos for sponsoring tonight's event. Please go to the Yad Eliezer site, click on the icon Agunos Grushas Malamdim, and whatever you could do to support Chickens for Shabbos. May HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless you. And if anybody would like to procure before Yom Tif the Sefer, the Mystery and the Majesty, go to the ArtScroll website or go to our site, rabbidg.com, and you could order the Sefer with free shipping and 10% off, promo code TMATM, the Mystery and the Majesty. And may HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless all of you with a year of good health, happiness, success, nachas, bracha v'hatzlacha, v'imale Hashem kol meshalois libenu l'toiva agutyar agabenchtiyar aksivach sima toiva lanu u'lechol Yisrael. Amen.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.